We are live, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. Episode 5. Yes, this is episode 5.
Here
And
we
I
go.
I have the first reoccurring guest on the show. Again with me is the all-wise Mr. Chalfant, Blake.
Great to
Hello.
be back. I figured I'd pull out these glasses with the topic at hand today.
Yeah, well, I was also going to wear a beanie today, but then once I hopped in and saw you were kind of ripping the beanie professor look, I decided to not do that.
Yeah.
So today we are going to talk about spirituality and everything
Religion.
religious, spiritual, whatever you want to call it. Um, I guess I'll go ahead and kind of break into just a little bit of a background for everybody who doesn't know my religious past and everything. Obviously grew up in Middle Tennessee area, and I did not grow up in a religious family. My parents were not religious growing up. But all my friends were. So whenever I'd go to sleepovers or anything like that, I'd find myself having that dilemma of do I want to go to church with this random family? And usually that aired on the side of no, I'm going to go home and watch football with my dad. And ever since then, that's just kind of how it's been. I never really thought of myself as a Christian up until about when I guess I was in middle school. There was a group of people that were going to you know, a Sunday night thing that was aimed at, middle schoolers to get them exposed to the Bible and everything religion. So I did that for a while and kinda was on the edge, kinda thinking about it, thinking not. And I did the whole, young life experience in high school with Blake for a little bit. Dropped in and out of that just because, as I come and go with, who I am as a person, my religious beliefs change, of course. And then I really kind of stopped with religion during college until I talked about last episode when I wanted to make a change for myself. And actually, religion is kind of what got me moving on that, I guess. And I called it Christianity. And I followed, that path for probably about a year and a half with my roommate of last year, Trenton Johnson. And ever since that, it's kind of been an up and down roller coaster for me. You know, I feel
Mm.
like that happens to a lot of people. Hey, Blake.
Yeah, I feel like I had a really similar past with you. And just for anyone listening, and if I'm shaking, I'm really trying to heat up back up. I
Yeah,
just
you were
gotta
breathing. You
gotta
were like,
Oh, sorry.
no,
I'll
you're
try to
good.
do that away from the mic. I just got out of the cold plunge, so I'm trying to get my body heat back. But yeah, I feel like me and you had a really similar past with religion, just both growing up with families that weren't really weren't a Sunday church going family really. Um, and yeah, growing up in the heart of the Bible Belt in a really conservative Christian Southern town is just like, yeah, I mean, that was one of the first things that they would ask you. I remember my mom, it was hard for her because every person she met, it would be one of the first things they ask is, where do you go to church? Um, and so for me, it felt like there was almost like this tribalism that I wanted to be a part of being Christian, of going to church.
Yeah.
And so, am I shaking? Why are
No,
you?
no,
Oh,
I'm just agreeing with
uh,
you, and most of the time I
yeah,
find that shit just hilarious
yeah.
slash interesting.
Yeah, so as like a kid, I remember like wanting to wear this mask of like coming off super Christian. Um, and I have this such a fond memory. I don't know if fond's the right word, but such a distinct memory of being at Camp Ocoee, which was in sixth grade, this like church camp that we went to as friends. And I remember something happened where like I was like basically being made fun of or like accused by some of our friends for like not being really Christian or something, like not being actually Christian. Super silly, but like, oh my God, dude, it fucking rocked my world. And I was just like, it was really crazy to me how hard I just wanted to fit in with that kind of that tribalism of being a Christian, being a part of that. Because I felt like such an outsider not going to church or anything.
Yeah.
Did you experience that?
Oh yeah. 100%. I guess like because me and you were kind of the only kids in our like friend group that really like didn't go to church and like didn't have like a strong Christian upbringing. Like we were kind of the outsiders.
Yeah.
I mean, it was fine. Like I kind of, I mean, I honestly didn't really as much feel the need to be a part of that kind of group because I had always just looked at those people. I don't know what it was for me, but I always, just didn't care to be a part of that tribalism you're talking about. I found that the tribalism I wanted to be a part of was being popular in school and like doing all that shit as
Hmm.
opposed to doing church because I felt like at that age, how am I able to comprehend such a thought of, where do we come from and why are we here? Like at 13 and, 14, like I don't have the necessary skills to understand what that means.
Oh,
Let alone be told something and then try and digest that, especially when it's not something my parents believed in. I'm not saying I follow exactly what my parents believe in, but your parents have such a sphere of influence around you and the way you think and the way you digest information.
right.
And, I just didn't feel like that was something that I needed to be a part of for a long time.
And what you're saying, digesting, that's such a key distinction because most kids aren't digesting anything. It's going straight in. It's going straight in and being programmed and conditioned. So it's not like all these 13-year-olds are saying, "Oh wow, Christianity or whatever world religion says this. Do I feel like that's true for me? Okay, yeah, I'm going to believe that." No, it's this is what my parents believe, this is what my environment believes, this is what I'm supposed to believe. There's no critical thinking, digestion, feeling if it resonates with you. It's just going through the motions.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that critical kind of thinking and processing of information honestly like probably does not come until like you're probably about our age
For some people,
for
for
some
most
people.
people, it never really comes.
I mean, yeah, I'm just saying like the process of it. I mean, dude, like even back in high school, like I was nowhere near able to process that information, dude. Like I had not gone through anything. I mean, I said I could have said I could or I have gone through stuff when in reality it was, living in this bubble of high school with only 300 people that I had known in my entire life. Like
Yeah,
I don't think you can base your spirituality, and I'm sure we're going to get into aside from Christianity, but like
right.
it's very hard for me to say or think about anything above me before I haven't experienced anything around me, if that makes any sense.
Yes, and that's a really that's a topic in itself of the fact that Christianity and some of the other religions separate like this realm versus heaven or hell or whatever they want to say. It's like we're down here and that's up there versus, well, what if it's all this, what if it's all one? And there's a lot to unpack there. But I think something that you were saying, which, talking about how you didn't have the capacity to critically think about anything spiritual at that age, and now you do. And but to me, it's like religion, spirituality, like whatever this higher intelligence is, it's not really something that you can like think about to find your beliefs. It is such an experiential thing of like having these moments of just like feeling it. Like you can't think about God and be like, "Oh, I believe this." Like it's a feeling.
Yeah.
Um, so you can think about it all day long, and I think that just a little bit about my more of my backstory with, I guess, Christianity, because that's what I really, the path I really went down is like, dude, later into high school, I tried so hard. I tried so hard to believe that. I convinced myself I did believe it. I
Yeah.
remember on one of the Young Life trips, dude, I was like, this is it, brother. Like, I found you, God. Like, um, and like feeling like I was like laying my life over to this path with God, and just I think I really just had to come to terms with like, you know what? I just don't feel connected to this. I don't feel connected in this way of relating to this higher power, and that's okay. And I think there's a lot of people that are at that place, but just really scared to admit that to themselves.
That's something you touched on. I mean, what you just said is just so powerful. The I, there's well, you said I don't feel connected, right? I don't feel
Hmm.
connected to this idea that someone else believes in, right? So when it comes to like religion, and I've said this for a long time, and I've kind of this is the forefront of what I kind of believe in is like, who are you to say someone else's experiences and life path can't think differently, right? So all these other religions in the world, all these other ideologies, right? There's completely different cultures and ways of life that go into these ways of thinking. And people are born completely different. And Christianity did not mesh with you. It did not mesh with Blake Chalfant. You said, I am not feeling this. There
Hmm.
could be other people who feel it. There
Hmm.
can be. And I don't think it's your place or anybody else's place to tell them they're thinking different. I mean, they're wrongly thinking for any way. And I don't think it's our place to tell anybody, the same. But
Right on.
what I think was really important is the fact that you said that you weren't feeling it,
Hmm.
which is something that I have come to realize too about
Yeah.
Christianity. I don't feel it. I can be
Yeah.
around a lot of people who feel it, and I can feel their energy resonating kind of onto me, right? I
Yeah.
can feel them feeling positive and, you know, their positivity. Oh, I like to be around these people when they're happy and when they're seeking self-development, right? But if I don't feel that self-development and I don't feel that positivity within my soul and myself, that's not right for me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so good. It's like what I said, I didn't feel it or you didn't feel it. The other side to that same coin is there's something wrong with Christianity. They didn't get it right, right?
Yeah.
Versus like instead of like blaming the world, like so many Christians, for example, will say, "Oh, Buddhism, that's not right. They got something wrong." Like they say all the other religions are wrong instead of Christianity
Hmm.
versus seeing all religions doesn't even have to be a religion. It's however you find ways of connecting with the greater power. They're all just different. All religions are just different interpretations of the same exact thing.
100%.
And there's many examples of these common things that are just interpreted differently across countries and
Well, even religions, you see
in,
Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. They're all three Abrahamic religions
right,
that come from the same kind of direct story that just branch off in slight different ways that determine, different ways of thinking. But it's just
right,
absurd to me that, like, you call yourself a Christian, you'd be like, I don't like, there's not saying everybody does this, but there's a lot of Christians and people I don't like. I don't believe what Islamic people believe in, obviously, and I don't like them for that. And they're going to go to
right.
hell.
And there's wrong. They're wrong. They're missing something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and they're not as, smart or
right,
coherently there. It's just I don't know.
right. It's yeah,
But
yeah.
what I think is really interesting too is when you get to the part about what you said, how like it's you know it doesn't have to be a religion.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you said that, that made me think of like, well, what do you think spirituality is? And you said you kind of alluded to the fact that everybody does believe in a higher power, but there are people who don't,
Yeah,
which boggles my mind.
yeah. I really feel. I was thinking about that today, and I really feel. Um, I mean, there's a lot of distinctions that you need to make with this, but for some people, it's like my life has been so shitty. Like my both my parents have died. Like I have cancer. Like all looking at our external world and saying, how could there be a God if
Hmm.
this is happening in my life,
Yeah.
right? It's like if my life is going to shit, then something wrong with God. And that's really important because to me, it's not okay, I'm connecting with God. I lay my life over to Jesus Christ and
Everything's
now
perfect.
my life's going to be miracles.
Hmm.
It's like to me it's like and this is getting deeper and I don't know if we want to go all the way here, but it's like God is in your parents dying. Like God is in getting sick and going through the fucking trenches of life. And God is in the miracles. and the moments of joy. It's like God is in everything.
100%.
And that is such a thing. That's such a big thing, I think, that some of these religions are missing.
It's back to kind of what we talked about the other day is like, um, when you try and limit your range of uh, emotional variance, right? When you try and limit it to something, it's easy to say, if I do go down here, who would ever, right? If you're stuck living in this area and you go down here at some point in your life, like you could be living the most content, perfect life, right? You're financially stable, you're happy with your kids, where you're living, right? Everything's fine. Then your parents die, right? Whatever you believe in, that sucks. And if you've
Hmm.
devoted your life to kind of trying to live comfortably in this middle zone, when you go down here, it's very easy for someone to be like, okay, you know, F you,
Yeah.
clearly. But I think that when you start to try and bring those outer boundaries and live kind of wall to wall, you see, you see a higher power, you see a connection, a feeling, even down here and way up here.
Yeah.
I mean, like, trust me, dude. When I've been down here, like I said I was last time, I felt some of the strongest connection with the higher power that I've ever felt.
Yeah.
And when I'm up here too, it's almost this
Yeah.
middle range is where you don't,
Yeah.
because there's nothing pressing on you. There's no extremes. That uncomfortability we talked about last time is honestly is a part of it all as well. It's like,
Hmm.
what are you willing to go through? What are you willing to put your body, your mind, your spirit, your energy through to try and get these answers? Because at the end of the day, you're searching for an answer,
Right.
right? And whether you're calling it faith or not, or you want to look at it as a science-based, argument, you're looking for a purpose. You're looking for an answer of why you're here, why me and you are able to have this conversation right now over Zoom, over the internet, all these insane, fascinating things that humanity has gone through, right? So when
Yeah.
you limit it, you're not pushing yourself.
Right. So good, brother. Love that. And I think about the times when you kind of do hit those rock bottoms, and it's like there's two sides to the same coin of how you're going to deal with that. And like you said, most people would be like, "Oh, I'm not supposed to be down here. I'm going to go and drink myself to sleep and do anything but to feel that." But I think about the times when I've been able to actually like sit with some of that and be like, "Fuck, dude, like what's going on?" And it's like those are the moments where I've had like the biggest kind of realizations about my life, about where I'm at, about where I probably need to be, how I need to be living. But it's like, yeah, you're right. There is like such that feeling of like that deep connection to like something greater that's like steering the fucking ship. That's like, oh, and you needed to see this. You
Dude,
needed to see this. You needed to experience this. You needed a slap in the face from the divine.
dude, it
Hey, I need to go get a blanket. So
Okay, you're
riff
good.
riff on that. I'll be right
You're
back.
good. I'll tell everybody else. Um, but I've told Blake this story before. But so when I first got into like kind of my religious headspace after college, when I was making my change that I talked about last time, I started to like, pray a lot, like as if like a Christian praying and all that kind of stuff, reading the Bible, etc., going to church. And I was making this change that I talked about last time where I wanted to go and kind of do something better for myself, and I wanted to like push myself in a direction that I felt was better for me. And I was in Knoxville, doing bad things, and that's kind of where I was at, was like trying to find a way to get away from that. And what I'm about to tell Blake is crazy because explains exactly kind of how he was talking about it. You back?
Yeah.
So you were saying how when you're down here and you get those spiritual kind of realizations and you get slapped in the face by the higher power, right?
Yeah.
Remember the story I told you about when I was driving on the. By the way, for everybody who doesn't know this, I'm sure you all do because it's all people we know. But I love electronic music, so I'm just add that to what I just told you while Blake was gone. I love electronic music. Remember the story I told you about when I was driving home from Knoxville and that that guardrail had been like cleaned out, and the first thing, instead of like anything else, the first thing that popped through my mind was like, I hope that those people are okay, and like I hope that their souls are like safe. And then
Sure.
like all of a sudden this like great electronic song started playing as I'm driving home from Knoxville, right? I'm going towards Nashville. I'm going away from Knoxville, away from all these things that I had thought were horrible to me. And these lyrics are like, I'm in you, I'm with you. It's like you tell me to leave you alone, but I'm with you, and it just keeps repeating and repeating and repeating. It was this crazy just like realization moment of like, oh my God, like, you know, there's too many things here to be coincidental, right? Like
Hmm.
just this crazy spiritual experience of like, meshing everything I kind of think about along with music, my kind of my passion, like just all right in that moment that you were talking about, kind of that low point where I was probably driving back from like a hangover to
Yeah.
Knoxville, just it was crazy, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so easy to write everything off in this life as just like a fucking coincidence and like, wow, that's just so random, you know? But this life is full of synchronicities and, I really don't believe anything's a coincidence. And it might take you 10 years to realize why something happened the way that it did. But, I really do believe that there's meaning in so much more than you believe. And that takes a lot of deconditioning of like, I feel like as we're growing up, we're kind of repressed of these ideas of like, beliefs about this existence. And dude, this fucking reality is magical.
It's
Like,
insane.
it is magical. And
It's insane.
there's always shit happening and always synchronicities happening, but it's all about the lens that you're seeing it through. And so, I know that there's probably people listening that are probably like, don't believe that. And it's even the thought of that feels uncomfortable. And, going back to a little bit of the uncomfortability piece from the last podcast we did, like this whole conversation we're having, even like investigating your own beliefs in here and opening the realm of like a different way of believing and thinking and feeling about all of this is uncomfortable.
It's uncomfortable as hell. I don't want to wake up, and this is the kind of the situation I've put myself in, and I'm sure Blake, I mean, I know Blake is in this situation. You wake up every day with a different kind of mental question or mental kind of task at hand. Like, I wake up every day feeling that, you know, I can figure something out about myself today. I don't know what it's going to be, but there's going to be something that affects me today that will affect me moving forward because everything that you do in life is internalized and processed in your subconscious, your conscious, whether you know it or not. And so, like, ever since, I've kind of been on this path of like, whatever, self improvement, whatever you want to call it, spirituality, I feel like I wake up every day and I'm striving to find answers and questions and answers to questions that I don't know and that I never will know. But it is, and it's uncomfortable to not know, right? I don't
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where I'm gonna go when I
Yeah.
die. I hope I go somewhere
Yeah.
great, but I wake up every day with that question in the back of my mind, and all these experiences I have with my family, my friends, and school, work, whatever it is, are all feeding into kind of this underlying push of me trying to figure that out. And so in that uncomfortability, I've rewired my brain to look at these situations differently and really take a lot of different um, pieces from these interactions that I have with my day-to-day life and internalize them differently and try and look at them in a positive way and put them towards something greater than me, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which, but that's all, like you said, that all stems from that uncomfortability. If you wake up mindlessly every day and scroll on whatever social media you're on, and go smoke pot and then go play video games all day and go through the motions, then go drink and watch some stupid show. You're not. I mean, no offense to anyone that does that, but you got to understand consciously and mentally where I'm coming from. On You can't just wake up and say, "Oh, this is normal. I should be
Mm-hmm.
waking up." You know,
Yeah.
who is anyone else to say I shouldn't be waking up? It's just another day in the on the world in the life of Owen. And it's like, no, this is not just some other day. This is a
Yeah.
day. You are on a planet in the middle of space. Somehow your atoms are not flying out of your body. I have billions and trillions of atoms that are
connected somehow by gravity to hold me into this form, this shell of a human that I am. And then all aside from that, I have this brain that is so complex and so infinitely diverse. Like that, there's nothing just, oh, chalk it up to science.
Yeah.
That's what it is. That's what it is. I mean, oh, there it
Yeah.
is. I should be
Yeah.
waking up and I deserve everything that's around me. It's like, no, you should be grateful whether you know what it is or not. Every moment of your life is special.
Right. Yeah, there's so much there. I think about I
Sorry,
can't
that was a
explain.
rant.
No, that was great. I can't really explain it myself, but when I listen to like scientists talk about like the physicists and stuff who talk about how rare like the creation of this earth is, like the perfection of like the chemical um reactions that had to happen so that we would have the earth that we have.
It's beautiful.
And like yeah, it's unbelievable. And oh, I also have so much compassion for everyone who doesn't think the way that you're speaking to, because God, as a culture, we don't. And so, I mean, a lot of people have never ever been exposed to the way of thinking that you're even speaking to.
Or just like you said, even the culture. Like, I
Right.
mean, dude, our culture does not challenge creativity. It does not challenge critical thinking. And it just encourages this kind of just this
Yeah.
just bland kind of push to just be in this area.
Yep.
And I think that's something that needs to be explored more in our culture, and I this is something I enjoy doing with you, obviously, because this is for our personal growth, but I think this podcast is great for people to kind of maybe get that first step. I mean, there's a lot of people who have never had these conversations with their friends, and if
Right.
they do, they're drunk as shit, and it comes from, you know, some stupid little remark, and then it's a whole debate about religion that doesn't mean anything, right?
Yeah.
These sober,
Yeah.
critical thinking conversations need to
Yeah.
happen more in regular day life for a lot of people, in my opinion.
Yeah. This totally is the first step. It's allowing ourselves to even think about that it might be possible.
Hmm.
I think about kind of this is kind of going into some stuff we talked about last time, but I think about us talking about like passion and purpose and stuff like that. And then, for example, there's someone who's been doing the same job for the past 20 years, their entire life, right? And they hate it. But like to all of a sudden and like wake up after 20 years of doing the same job and be like, "Oh shit, I don't feel any passion at all in this, and I'm gonna just get up out of nowhere and quit, and I have no idea what else I want to do, but I know that this isn't it." Like, that's fucking scary for a
Dude,
lot of
that's
people,
literally
and
what my
that takes
dad is doing
balls.
right now.
And that same,
My dad is
same,
my dad is quitting.
same.
You know how my dad's worked for Nice for whatever, how long?
Yeah.
15 years. My dad, well, I mean, no one's going to see this, but my dad's probably going to 100%, probably 95, whatever, taking a new position, um, basically being the CEO of this kind of company, and he's terrified, but he's so excited
Mm,
because he found no drive and he was just kind of burnt out of doing what he had done for a long time, and he wanted to just feel kind of that exciting spark again.
yeah.
Your dad's doing the
That's
same?
awesome. Yeah.
That's
Um,
lit.
but it's the same thing with religion. It's like to all the people who have believed like the same thing for their whole lives, to
Hmm.
all of a sudden and like wake up and be like and admit to themselves like, shit, dude, I don't really actually like resonate with this, I don't really actually feel a connection, like that's fucking scary for most people. And it's scary because for most people they're in an environment surrounded by people who all believe the same thing, who are all inside their same story. And so it's like to all of a sudden and like wake up and be like, yeah, I don't believe in this, is like it's scary on a lot of levels. And kind of transitions into something that I wanted to bring up, which is like just like, dude, I don't think most people have ever actually like felt what it feels like to like feel like a connection to something greater than us. And like most people are just going through the motions and they go to church and they assume that that's it. Like they're operating down here and they assume that like that is it, like there's nothing, there's no other level of connection, right? And then they have this fucking experience and they're like, holy shit, I thought I knew what feeling connected to God was. Like I had no idea. And I'm speaking for me, like that's definitely what happened to me, but there's just like it doesn't compute to me that like a real connection to something that is so amazing, like why are you going to church one day a week and then the switch turns off for all
Six
the
days.
other 6 days of the week? Like
Yeah.
that's not a real connection to God. Like you don't a real connection to God, in my opinion, is not really something that you should have to like strive for, that you should have to like force yourself to like read a book. Like it should come natural. It should
Yeah,
come.
to feel like if you don't go to church, like let's say I was a Christian and I wanted to read the Bible in my
Yeah.
bed, and to have my peers who claim to be also Christians, who claim to love me, to kind of look down upon me if I don't go to church. Like if I don't show up, you know, it's
Yeah.
like I could
Right.
have a completely different thought processes than you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I want to talk about some of the fear that you're talking about. And I just want to because I know you're kind of in the same boat. I just want to say that we're using Christianity a lot as the example because that's kind of just
Where we
because.
grew up.
And I want to say that I love so many of the Christian teachings, but I think there's a lot of them that have gotten really skewed over time and have been exploited. And there's some not so great things about Christianity. But Jesus Christ was an amazing human being that yeah,
Definitely walk the earth.
want to say that.
But
Um
yeah, I also want to say something to that too. Is if anybody who's listening is Christian, I don't think we're not like bashing on whatever you believe in or whatever. I just think that the process of this podcast is to try and open up a different way of or a different way of thinking that me and Blake just want to
yeah.
express to people. And it may be wrong, it may be right, it may be left, it may be right. Who knows? Like it literally, you know,
Yeah.
it's just a way. It's just a way to get our thoughts and our emotions out
Right.
to people.
Yeah,
Because I
totally.
do
And
love a bunch of Christian people,
yeah,
and
and there's a lot of
beautiful
people on
people.
earth right now who I think are doing Christianity in the right way.
Yeah,
And there's a lot of Christians who I feel do really have a deep connection with God. Um So you can, if you're listening to the podcast, we're not saying you need to stop being a Christian to have a connection to God. Not saying that at all. So I want to talk about the fear that religion brings onto people, in particular Christianity, with some of the beliefs that they have. And I have a lot to say about it, but I'll let you riff on that for a bit.
what like what?
Just like the amount of fear that is wrapped up in Christianity.
Well, yeah. I mean that whole like. I mean, this is just also goes back to being like, you tell a 12-year-old or an 11-year-old, anywhere from where you're able to like slightly critical think, you tell them if they don't believe in God, they're going to hell. And this idea of hell is this fiery escape of dragons that are ripping you apart and you're going to be there for eternity and you're right? How do you think that makes a 8-year-old, 9-year-old, 10-year-old feel and look at the way of what they believe in? They're scared. They're scared to think any way differently because if they don't, they're going to hell. And the issue is they don't even understand the concept of hell. They don't understand when these people tell them if they don't believe this certain way, they're going to live without God for eternity. That part they can come to understand, but the whole hell part, they don't understand that. They don't understand that just living in a world without God is living in a world without beauty or whatever. And people say, "Oh, hell is this fiery place of, without God." Well, it's like, well, what is it then? Is it something you should be afraid of? Is it something that you need to try and understand or put a self kind of in that position to say, okay, this is what life with God would be without God or whatever? That's kind of a double entendre. But Like, I've lived without God. I've lived without God for 19 years. I'd say the first connection I genuinely had with a higher power was when I was 19 in college. I lived without God for 19 years, and I thought it was great. I had a fine time. But was I truly fine? Probably not. But to try and tell people, tell kids that if they don't believe in something they can't even read, literally. You try and give a 10-year-old a Bible, you think he's going to be able to read it, let alone comprehend it? Hell no. You tell them that they're going to go to hell if they don't believe in that, they're going to be scared of thinking differently for the rest of their life.
Right.
You condition them to think like that, game
Yeah.
over.
Yeah.
You've set that person set in stone for how they're going to think.
Yeah. Yeah. I think something that you said that caught my attention is like
Hold up.
at one layer.
Hold up, Blake. Restart. You said you caught
Sorry.
my attention.
Sorry.
I
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
started lagging.
Okay. Yeah. So there's multiple layers to me that we can kind of talk about what you just said about living without God. And I think at the deepest layer, there's you're never ever living without God,
No, of
because
course.
to me God is in everything. But I know what you were saying, and that's that like consciously you weren't like
I didn't care.
consciously you didn't know God. And
Yes.
I think there when we can actually consciously choose to connect in different ways, I think it's like God gets to express itself through us, and also like to our mind, like feeling that there's something else out there, that we don't have to like, that we're not alone in this world, that there's something else out there that is much more powerful and cares for us and is holding us in this life. I mean, that's it's the biggest fucking safety net to go out and walk through our lives with, versus like there's nothing else out here that's supporting me. I am alone. There's no, everything is a coincidence, everything's random. It's like, fuck, dude, you're like playing Russian roulette every day of your life.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I wanted to talk about the fear of it too. Um, yeah, I think that example of hell is a big one. And I can't remember. I was reading some text that was like original kind of teachings of the Bible, and it was talking about what hell actually is a symbol for. It's something like living a life like as anyone but who you are. I don't know if that was exactly it, but anyway, yeah, living your life in terms of like always like checking over your shoulder to make sure you're not doing something wrong, because you might go to hell if you do. Like, that fucking blows my mind still, that there are people who are so entrenched in living that way. And I also think about that as like, how is that affecting us? How is that affecting not only our mental or spiritual health, like our physical health? I think about our nervous systems, right? I think about the person who, um, like, think about our ancestors who were always walking around looking over their shoulder to make sure there's not a saber-toothed tiger that's about to pounce on them.
We're stressed out.
Think about the person who lives in a house with someone who is highly physically abusive, and you're always like looking over your shoulder like, I hope they're not drunk, or like, I hope they're not going to hit me. Like, that is such a, all you're like, you're always in a state of stress, you're always in this state of fight or flight. That's the same thing.
My
Sorry.
fucking internet.
Yeah,
Is it mine or yours?
I think it's yours, but
Okay.
that's the exact same thing as living your life always like wondering, like in fear of the afterlife, of like, I hope I'm not doing something wrong, right? And it's like, fuck, dude, that's a hard way to live your life. And like, I mean, science shows like living with that high amount of stress completely causes different physical illnesses.
Literally went to the dentist today and I have a pain in my tooth that when I drink cold water it shoots like a nerve ending and just destroys my fucking mouth. And he was like, "You see you're biting your lip or biting your cheek?" And I was like, "No." He's like, "Are you stressed out right now?" I'm like, "Yeah." 'Cause I'm just like school, I got a lot going on. I'm like, yeah. And he's like, yeah, you're grinding the shit out of your teeth at night because you're stressed out. And I'm like, oh my God. But no, I mean, it makes sense, dude. Like, yeah, I couldn't imagine living in fear my entire life. And I don't know if this is going to be an oversharing story, but I had this.
Wait.
Go
Can
ahead.
I say one more thing before you share?
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
The other point I want to make about the fear, and this definitely takes a bit of an open mind to think about, but it's, it's entirely possible that, like, so when we are when we're worried about, like, basically judgment day, when we go to the whatever, the white man sitting on a throne with a beard, like, church is the place we go where we can get forgiveness, right? It's like the place we can go where we can come back and get our clean slate again, so that we're not going to go to hell, whatever. I mean, that whole phenomenon keeps people coming. I mean, not everyone, but there's definitely a population of people who are going to church because because like they
They
think that when they go back to church, they're gonna be able to go to heaven again. Like, they're worried that if they don't go to church, then, oh shit, we're gonna go to hell. We need to go to church so we can check the box, right? And so, I mean, the idea that, like, some dudes at some point were like, we should do this so that we keep people coming back to church. And I mean, the amount of money that the church has and has had and power over the years is fucking crazy. And so, I mean, guys, I think there's a lot of people that, like, assume that humans are just all waterfalls and butterflies. Like, there's a
some
lot of
terrible people in
fucked
this
up
world.
people who have done things that really have not been good for humanity, for money and power. And
Mhm.
that's just the truth of it. And so that idea that that happened, I mean, I personally 100% believe. And I don't consider myself a super big, like, conspiracy fucking anarchist kind of person. But yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, no, 100%. You know, like when
What?
the
Wait, sorry. What would happen if everyone believed that God was just all loving, and that whether we went out and got drunk or we stayed home and prayed with our family, God would love us the exact same? People wouldn't feel the need to be going to church as much.
well, and that's the thing is that's actually crazy that you say that. Is because that is what the Bible teaches. Is that God is all loving. Jesus did die for our sins. Jesus died so we could do the stupid shit that we do and not want to fucking kill ourselves because of how bad we feel about it. But what's crazy, and this is it. This is it. This is what you're explaining. Is the craziness of that is if you look at what Jesus did, right? Came down, gave power and security and um, you know, this sense of I'm going to be okay to the poor people, to the common people, to the people who live their lives kind of in fear of this tyrannical government. Back in the day, it was, these Romans kings, all these people who were just oppressing the shit out of a population, right? What did Jesus do? He came down and he gave salvation for these people who live in, dirty, poor, unhealthy, drunken men, right? Who do terrible things. Why? Because he's all loving, right? That's what it is. That's what Christianity teaches. But it's morphed into this thing where it's like, no, 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 no. God isn't all loving because those are sins and sins are bad. So to go
Hmm.
be and go seek forgiveness for my sins, I have to go to church. Not just have a connection with God because that's hard and that takes you actually devoting your time and what you really are willing to sacrifice to God. No, 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 no,
Hmm.
no, no. That's no, 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 no. That's a crazy person. Someone who gives their life away. No, no, no. I still want to go and do all these sins. And then I just want to go and check the box. That way I can feel like, okay, I did something at least to reconcile that what I did was wrong. That's what it is now. God teaches love, teaches forgiveness for all, and died for our sins as a form of Jesus Christ. But people don't understand that that's, this taboo thing, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Right.
It's like if you genuinely know that you have a connection with God, you or a higher power. For me, it's not Christian God, right? But it is a God, right? Where I know right from wrong. I have this moral choice of, okay, do I do this? Do I not do this? Right? I go through these decisions of, trying to figure out what the right thing to do, which that's a whole different argument, but I have free will, right?
Yeah.
I have free will. So to decide what I want to do in a given situation, I attribute to someone, a higher power, giving me that ability. So when I want to go and reconcile, I'm not going somewhere else and placing, you know, my identity or my time to go check a box, right? 45 minutes once a week. That's pretty much all they ask. You go, you sing a couple of songs, you give some money, and that's it. I understand that you can go do other things, right? But the decisions you're making outside of your organized religion, those are the decisions. The lifestyle you're living outside of church, those are who
Mm-hmm.
you are.
Yeah.
You're not, just because you say you're a Christian and you go to church on Sundays does not mean you are in touch with the higher power. If
Yep.
your lifestyles, if you read the Bible, and this is what's crazy to me is because I took a religion class because I go to a Christian school. I take these classes. If you read the Bible, like I've read the Bible in my classes, and go in depth as to what it says, if you do that genuinely, and then sit back and tell me that you can't find a way on your own to interpret that and sit with that for months and months and months and change your life based on that, then you're not doing it. You know what I'm saying? You're not in religion for the right reason. And that can go any way, any religion, any thought process for anything. If you're just getting smacked in the face with information, you
Mm-hmm.
got to think about it. You got to
Yeah.
think about what you're doing, the process you're going through. That's why I love the
Yeah.
way I think because it's the way I think and it's the way I interpret the world. And I have my own whole fucking construed up, you
Yeah.
know, of what created me. And guess what? That is completely valid.
Mm-hmm.
And I love it because it helps me love myself. And
Yeah.
through loving myself, it's loving God. Whatever God that decides to be.
That's it right there.
Because I mean like if I
That's
truly
it right there.
if I love myself, then
You
that's
are
the
loving God when
I'm
you
loving
love
God because
yourself.
because that's what I say when I wake up. Like last podcast, I said the most thing that I'm grateful for every day is waking up, having another day on earth. Why would that be? Because I'm grateful for who I am, what I have able to experience in this life. And so by trying to figure out who I am, who God made me to be, not Christian God, not Islamic God, but whatever it is, whatever higher power created Owen Kaufman to be, may sound selfish, but you get that little kind of flip mindset. It's not. It's
Yeah.
not.
It's not.
Because if I'm the best version of myself, that looks like giving back to other people, making other people smile and happy, being a great partner if I'm in a relationship, being a loving family member, being a contribution to society with some type of work, right? It's all these things that the Bible wants people to do. It wants people to do these things. But
Mm-hmm.
but the concept of, like you said, going to church and just having that be okay allows people to not strive to do those things.
Yeah.
It allows people to live in this kind of just go.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that so much. And it's like we're outsourcing our own power. It's like
Yeah.
what you're saying is like I'm gonna worship God. You know how I'm gonna worship God? By loving myself more, by seeing God in myself. When I can see God in myself and love myself, I am now allowed to now I can love every single other human being on this earth and see God in them. If you don't love yourself, you're not gonna actually be able to fully love someone else. Same thing with seeing God in yourself. And so what the church has done and what organized religion has really done is said if you want a connection with God, you're gonna have to do like go outside of yourself to do that. You're gonna have to lay your life over to someone. You're gonna have to worship to them. It's like you're gonna have to reach out, and then God's gonna meet you. But what if it's like God's already inside of me? I don't have to go anywhere. I don't have to do anything. Like
That's
it's right here. And it's like
gotta look internally.
you have to look internally and you have to know that like you're saying, like when you interpret these things for yourself, and you have when you're sitting at home and you've been contemplating that one scripture you read or that thing, and you have that aha moment of like, holy shit, I get it because I feel it, not because I'm thinking about it, because I feel it down here. Those are the firework moments, and that's where you double down, and it's like, holy shit, like this is it. And it's like, yeah, I might take something from Buddhism, and then I might take something from Christianity, and at the end of the day, you know what I found is I found Blake.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. That's exactly how I am, bro.
And we're like, and then at the end of the day, in that perfect world, it's like every single human being believes something slightly different.
Hmm.
It's all slightly different, and it's all so amazing, and it's perfect
It is.
because
And
there is not one right way to do it. It's how does it fit in the keyhole of Blake?
I mean, I could not agree more. I literally could not agree more. And I just think I mean, it's crazy too. It's like, I know this, to whoever's watching this, this may sound like we hate Christianity and just hate everybody who's a Christian. I promise you that's not how it is. I literally attribute every possible way, like every, I don't know how to say this. I got my journey about myself and my relationship with God through Christianity. And I love a lot of the things in the Bible. I go to the Bible for a good bit of the things that I think about. But through that process, I realized that I just want to think a little bit differently, right? And it's just, I don't feel like, there should be this, and this is what it just pisses me off about our fucking world. I don't know why there's so much hate surrounded around religion, man. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's just I mean, religion obviously runs the world. It drives everything we do. Everything every human does every day, whether you think it or not, is driving the question of why are we here? Every job you do indirectly is funding some expansive exploration to try and figure out why we're here. It is. I promise you it is. Whether that's the development of AI, going to space, I mean, all these religions popping up, but it's trying to figure out why we're here. And so when people just spread this like hate against other people based on the way they think, it's just brutal to me. And it feels like it's separating us so badly and creating this just awful world, and it's just frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
And I just had to bring that up because I like, and this is goes to back when, people would ask you, like your mom said, "Are you a Christian?" And if you, I mean, my mom. Imagine my mom gets asked that question, her reaction to that question in Brentwood, Tennessee,
Yeah.
like, and then the judgment, my mom, who is just the best lady, the best woman in my life, literally could not be who I am without my mom. That hurts me to know that people are probably judging my mom based off the way she thinks. You know what I'm
Oh
saying?
yeah. Yeah, dude.
Like I mean, I will say
100.
like like of course I get judged and everything, but I'm, really trying to work past that, but like I don't know, just to understand, like, dude, people would talk shit about our parents in high school because they didn't
Mm-hmm.
go to religion.
Yes, they were different.
It's just that's just it irks me,
Yeah.
man.
It's very backwards. Like you're saying, like love each other. That is it. Like that is it. If we did one thing and only one thing, and that was love each other, it would be a perfect world. But in like every religion obviously has some like part in it about loving your neighbor, love each other. But just to use Christianity again, it's like, okay, we're gonna love everyone except for gays, right? Like up until a few years ago, like that was still, I mean, and there's still a lot of people who are still believing that. Like that is just fucking crazy to me. It's fucking crazy to me. And like the amount of, like you're saying, the amount of judgment, I think, like I want to echo what you said about Christianity, and I also want to say like there is definitely parts of me that are like fucking just like angry at like certain aspects of it and how it's being manipulated, and like the amount of fucking judgment and the amount of fear. It hurts me to see people living their lives this way. And it hurts me that at the core of it, people just want to belong to something, and people want to worship a higher power, and that's just what they've been raised on. And so that's all they know. And so it there definitely is some frustration within me around that. And and I look at like across time, like I think today, like today's world, religion doesn't have as big of a weight as it has in the past. But dude, like in our history, like religion has literally been such a determinant of so much. And so when you start to throw in some of these things like God is not within you, God's outside of you, and like you're going to be judged when you die based on everything you do in your life, like all those kinds of things, and like this in the belief that like this religion's right and the other ones are wrong, and like God, dude, it's really caused a lot of really fucked up things.
War, whether you think war happens religiously or for money, it seems like everyone you go to war with has an opposing religious view.
Yeah,
And, I just think that I think something needs to happen. Like, I think this is just gonna be funny. Is like, what if like we kind of had like aliens come down and like they were like, I don't know, like what if there was something that kind of made the whole world kind of just like think like, oh shit,
like
like,
think hard for a minute
yeah,
and like take a step back.
yeah.
I mean, I think
Well, I think
COVID did that to an extent, and I
COVID did
think
that. I think there's
with the
also
path we're on, it's inevitable that something like that happens, or we're done. I mean, and I do have hope, but I really do think that it is going to take one of those events, whether it's a huge natural disaster kind of event or yeah, I don't really know, but I do think we need that, and it's hard because when as we're talking about religion, it's like what is at the core of it? It's like lack of an open mind and thinking that you have it right and that other people have it wrong. And that's the same thing with politics. It's the
yeah.
same thing. It's the same thing with all of these different tribalistic stuff. It's
Pe-
like we're in these camps. It's left or right, or it's good or bad. And you have to realize that we're so caught in this polarity of fighting each other that we're missing what the fuck is going on top of on top, which is the fact that we are heading towards extinction, people. And it's like when you're comfortably sitting in your bed at night and you're watching your Netflix show and it's just another day, it's like it's hard to actually grasp that of like we're actually heading towards extinction.
Two ways we're heading towards
Take
extinction
a
too.
moment, take a moment, take a day for yourself to really like look at the world, look at what's happening, all the like dude, we are in a horrible place right now.
Horrible. And it's not even a death of us physically, which that is a threat. I think there is also a extinction of the fucking conscious human brain. Like, I think there's going to be not only like whatever you can say, whatever extinction you think like actually killing a bunch of people is going to happen, but like, dude, I think there already is an extinction going on, and that is an extinction of like critical thinking, like human consciousness. I feel like people are getting born and being programmed into these very just
Yeah,
ways of
that
thinking
totally.
that are
That's the
just fitting. I mean, I hate this. I mean, I'm sure you've heard of the Matrix, as people call it,
yeah.
but it makes sense, dude.
I mean, it is capitalism. It
It
really.
is
I mean that's not just it, but it's like the we are a capitalist culture, and so we're always more and more trying to pump out more money. I mean that is the root of what's driving everything, and so at the end of the day, to really be able to do that and have, I mean, because for the most part, it's a lot of people doing kind of mindless jobs, to be able to do that, you have to have mindless people who are willing to do those jobs.
Exactly.
And that's what I mean, and
It's
it's
sad.
fucking sad, and it's scary, but it's like, I mean, I agree, we have an epidemic right now of a lack of critical thinking and a lack of connection to ourselves,
And
really. And sorry, go ahead.
no, and it's just what the issue is too, is when you are someone who likes to challenge mainstream ideas, whether whatever genre subject that may be. For our example, let's say we like to challenge the mainstream way of thinking, right? About internal self. You are looked at as like just, you know, a crazy person.
Right.
And it's like I don't.
Because you're making them look at their shit when you think about things differently. Now it's forcing all these other people to think about things differently, and it's uncomfortable.
That's why I
So
said
they're
the
gonna resist
aliens
it.
thing. That's
I
why I
mean,
said the alien thing. Like I'm serious, dude. Like I guarantee
yeah,
you go ask a bunch of Christian people, like, do you believe in aliens? They're like, no.
yeah.
God or the Earth was created
Because
five
that
thousand years ago, and Adam
and
or
that
Eve were the first people to ever be on Earth. It's like, okay,
that is so okay. This is another thing I want to get into. What were we just talking about though? There's one more thing I wanted to add. Oh, it was that the thing is though, as long as humanity is on this earth, I think consciousness is going to keep growing, even though it feels like maybe it's going the other way. I mean,
there will
these
be no,
these
there will be.
conversations we're having right now, and the amount of people who are just waking up to what's going on is so much bigger than it was even 5 years ago, 10 years ago. So I do think the pendulum is swinging back that way.
There's just a lot of
um,
resistance
there is a lot of resistance.
because it's kind of.
We
I think
like
it's.
literally right now, like 2022, 2020, I think is like the peak of that resistance. And it's like now where we're at is like, dude, people are just being forced to look at their shit left and right. Like I can't tell you how many people who 2022 has been such a fucking shit storm of just like all these things coming up, and it really just feels like that polarity swinging to a place where it's like people are kind of being forced to step into looking at their stuff and what's going on. But something that I really want to touch on that I forgot about that you brought up is yeah, it's
The, you
okay.
gonna say the aliens?
No,
I love that conversation.
there was a way I wanted to say it, but it's like, okay, yeah, yeah. It's the belief that a lot, like with Christianity in general, that humans are the center of the universe, right? It's that we were put on this earth, and all the other things, all the animals, all the fruits, like everything is in service to humanity, right? And that's when you if you don't accept evolution, that's how you're going to think about it. And I think that has caused so many problems. That belief that humans are the center and everything else is in service to us, then it gives us permission to go out and completely extract everything from the earth, completely ruin the earth because the earth is for us. And so shifting, I think one of the biggest parts of if humans are going to make it through this time, if we are going to evolve through this time, it is the shift back to realizing that we are a part of this ecosystem of life.
Earth as well.
Of earth. No, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, Earth. Yeah,
We are one with the earth. We are just another species on this earth, and we think we're better because we have a different kind of consciousness than other things on this earth. And when we can realize that we are just one other piece to this ecosystem, we realize that what we do to the earth directly affects us, and we can see that in take the gut microbiome, for example, the food that we put in our body. If we're going to go around polluting our food, our water, now we're drinking fucking polluted water. We're drinking food with glyphosate in it that directly fucks with our guts, with our health. It's like, dude, we are poisoning our own species, and we're doing that. And what we don't realize that we're being shown through all this shit is that we're a part of the earth.
dude. Oh my gosh, what you just explained, that that hurts me to a core. And this is, I'm gonna say something, which I know this is just gonna stem just a whole other podcast, which I'm fine with. But if you listen to me right now, people who are watching this, If you think that the earth does not matter, and I did this on Thursday night, take a gram of mushrooms, psilocybin, and watch Our Planet on Netflix. Watch the polar bear episode. If that doesn't break your heart, mind you, while under the influence, or while actually not under the influence, while in the expansive state, expansive mind state that psilocybin puts you in, if that does not question the way our society is living right now, go to a doctor and get something checked out, please. Because I watched that last night or on Thursday night, and it hurt me to see a polar bear. The ending scene of that is a polar bear swimming through ocean that would normally be 8 feet thick of ice, trying to find its next meal because we are just destroying the planet.
Yeah.
It's horrible. It is
Mm.
awful. And we are tearing down the rainforest, the most biodiverse place on Earth. We're literally one of the most, it's a whole other argument too,
It's
but
like 200 football. It's like some number of football fields like every like minute on the
yeah, it's
Amazon. And
awful.
the Amazon rainforest literally are the lungs of this fucking planet. The
Yeah,
most biodiverse place on the entire earth where there's so many undiscovered species still. Like, and yeah, I'm
I
right
mean,
there with you. It's horrible. And I think like so this is kind of stemming into something because I do want to hear a bit more and talk about more of like what you believe
yeah.
personally. And I guess I'll just start off with a little bit, which I was really thinking about this today because I think it was a few months ago in my class in college we were talking about what we believe. And one of the girls in the class was like what does she believe God is? She was like, I believe God is nature. Like God literally is nature. And when she says nature, it's like the trees, it's that, but it's us too. It's everything. Everything on this earth is nature. Everything is made of nature.
Mhm.
And I'd never really thought about that. I definitely don't believe that it's, a white dude sitting on a throne. I don't think it's a person at all. But I'd never really thought about it as being like nature. And so I want to just kind of explain something and um, follow along on this journey. But so you think about like there is something on the earth that is driving life, right? It is like everything's alive. Like me and you right now are two humans that are alive. Like there is a quality of aliveness to us. The same way that there is a different because we have conscious brains, but the same way that there is an aliveness to a blade of grass or an aliveness to a tree. Like there is a life force coming through all of it, and that is what is driving life, right? The tree that's growing, the caterpillar that's changing. It's like there is something that is driving life through everything. So then I zoom out and I look at Earth as a whole. And it's like there's like an outlet coming from Earth and it's plugged into somewhere, right? And that's the source of what is powering this entire existence, right? And it's like you unplug that cord right now and then we're just like this and we're dead. But it's like to me it's like that is the source of everything. And that is God to me. It's like it's the life force energy that is coming through me. And that life force energy is all nurturing, is all loving, is all supporting. And all it wants is to keep lifing. And that it's not, if I go and smoke a joint or whatever, it's not going to come with a fucking whip and be like, you're sinning, stop doing that.
No.
It's forgiving. All it wants is for me to be more of who I am because God is inside of us. So when we are more of who we are connecting to ourselves. We're connecting to God in a deeper way. Like that's it.
Yeah, I mean, hit the nail on the head with that one. Yeah. I mean, dude, I mean, I'm pretty much the same exact way, dude. I mean, I this story is kind of funny too. Is the first time I realized not that there was a God or anything, because I'd been told my whole life that there was a God, but the first time I really realized that there was something higher than me. And this is, I mean, this is crazy. I don't know what headspace I was in. I promise you, I was not under the influence of anything.
Mm-hmm.
I just remember looking at a chair that someone had made, and being like, that's really, really interesting. It's like, you know, why a chair? Why this shape? Why this chair that we sit on? Like, just it's just interesting. And then that stemmed to like, okay. Then I picked up my phone. I'm like, holy crap! Like, oh my god! Like, just everything. Everything is just insane. Like, it's just crazy to think about. Like you said, the blade of grass. Like, I go if a cow eats that blade of grass, which is what it does all day, it gets energy from that blade of grass. What is energy? You may say, oh, well, it's, you know, the sun gets converted into phosphor, it has phosphorus in the plant, and that turns into energy and glucose, and but whatever. But, like, you don't understand why that's happening. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Physicists may say they do, but they don't. Because if they understand where the energy was coming from, they'd know where to get it. If they knew where all the energy that drives life was coming from, why don't we go grab it? And then why don't we just do whatever we want with it? And we'd solve world hunger, we'd solve all these problems on Earth, right? They don't know. They have no fucking idea where all the energy comes from. It's just an
Mm-hmm.
energy, right?
Yeah.
And so your chord method, mine is like this, like Earth, right? And then like you can go outside universe or whatever, but I picture like Earth, and then I picture like this huge, just kind of like sphere. Like, have you ever seen, like, those things you put your hands on, like the orbs, and it like radio statics?
Yeah.
I picture like this huge orb kind of around everything that exists. And there's just like these flowing, just kind of states of energy that just pulse in towards reality, honestly, and just feel reality
Mm.
with just this just untangible energy that drives, like you said, everything that we do. Every single thing, every movement, every bug, every worm, every breath. I mean, it's just insane. It's
Yeah.
beautiful, though. It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
And it makes me so happy to be a human and live on
Totally.
Earth, honestly.
I love the comparison to the orb. I think if there's anyone, it's been about hour 15. If there's anyone still listening all the way through, we're gonna be taking a step deeper. So buckle
Oh,
up. um,
oh yeah, we are.
but I was realizing as I was talking is like I was kind of making it seem like to me God is like the earth or whatever, and I don't. That's not what I think or believe. It's so
I,
much greater than that. It's like God is like fucking powering the universe. It's
oh
not just
yeah.
the earth, it's the universe.
Hold up, you cutting out.
I actually do think that I don't know if it's directly related to God, but this was in one of my notes is quantum physics, which is such a fucking amazing field that I think actually is going to be one of the ways that science can really directly tie into religion. They 100% know that all of the space that we perceive as space, like outer space, or even like the space between me and the computer right now, like I would just be like this, all this is just empty, right?
There's an
Space is
opposite.
completely full.
Well,
Like
yeah.
it is completely full of energy, of and we just can't see it because it is not dense enough to where it's matter. Like I can touch the computer screen because it is energy that's so dense that it's matter. But everything else, the space is vibrating so fast
There's a
that
frequency to
we can't actually
everything.
see it. Yeah, which is another way to say a sound. Like
Yes.
just because we can't hear something doesn't mean it's not a sound.
Dude,
Sound is just a vibration that's moving, is a frequency. The energy is fucking is always playing music. Like
did you
there's
watch that new Randall Carlson and Graham
I'm
Hancock?
in the beginning of it.
Dude, dude,
I'm in the beginning of it.
it's
But
insane. They get to what you're talking about,
oh really?
and dude, it's
Yeah.
insane. Shit's about to change.
It's
Mega,
crazy. Like
mega.
we are on the verge. I mean, some of the discoveries are already coming out, but it's like so cutting edge right now. It's not very popular, but it's like, and you can measure. every, like, I feel like energy is even a little bit like out there for people, like that word.
Yeah, it is.
You can measure with scientific instruments, with EEGs and ECGs, your energetic field right now, and it looks like this, right? It looks like this, and you can measure it, that correlate directly to certain emotions. When we're in certain emotional states, our energetic field looks different. It's the sound that we're making, right? It's our vibration.
It's the hertz, the
It's our
frequency.
frequency.
Yeah.
It changes with emotions,
Hmm.
and so you can they they have found that literally, depending on what our energetic field is, like, we are basically attracting that same frequency from the fullness of space, like I'm talking about.
Dude, maybe that has to do with all that like signs and stuff like that.
It does.
Is like the
It
frequency
100% does.
when you're born and like when you're conceived, whatever, when you're born, all that stuff, the frequency that was in our realm of where we are in space is what aligns you to be that kind of type of person you are.
Dude, astrology signs and charts and stuff, they'll talk to you about, like, what are you? Like, I'm a Virgo or whatever. You heard
Yeah.
of that?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not really into that,
I'm not either, but
but there is, but
it's
it is
real.
the alignment of the planets when you're born, and all those
More than
planets
the
have,
planets. It's
they have
alignment
an
of
they have of everything.
yeah.
They're all those planets have energetic signatures. Like, there is a collective energy of existence that is changing depending on the alignment of the planets. And so it's like, yeah, there is an innate signature to you.
Oh, I know.
Like, there was only 1 second of time in this existence when you were born. So you are completely unique in that. Um,
It's
but oh my God,
intense,
I feel like
dude.
I just kind of opened up a whole new bag of coins.
Okay,
But
yeah, here. Actually, here. Okay. This is what we're gonna do. I want to say one more thing about the energy to you about Graham Hancock. I'm not going to spoil it, but anybody who wants to broaden their horizon on any type of thinking, but specifically the history of planet Earth and um, kind of challenging the way we thought our history as humans used to go watch the Joe Rogan, Graham Hancock, and Randall Carlson episodes. There's like 3 of them. Great geologist, and then I don't know what you'd consider Graham Hancock. Just
he's just a real visionary.
yeah, he just thinks outside the box and challenges mainstream ideas of how human history happened. Anyway, in that dude, Blake, listen, this is insane. This is for people too. They're talking. Joe brings up the pyramids again, and they think it was sound. It was these frequencies
That created them.
that they tuned into them, and that's what moved.
Oh,
That's what moved the rocks into the perfect positions. Because they
dude.
said that there's these group of peoples who have been studying um, frequencies for like 8 years in secret, like in a secret lab funded by completely random people to where there's no interference from government sanctions. And Randall Carlson's the one who had been like who knows about it, and he just now is able to talk about it. He showed this diagram of this frequency metric, which is a circle, and it's like all these like it's how it interacts with real matter is insane.
I totally believe it. And, like, even for me, someone who I feel like is kind of on the edge of thinking in this kind of way, it's like I believe it, but there's still a bit of, like, not uncomfortability, but anyway.
Oh, I know. That's what
So
I'm
so
saying.
I know there's like,
I
it's
feel like I
we're
shouldn't
just
believe that because
we're
of
so
mainstream
disconnected.
media.
We're so disconnected from that. And I think, like, for the people who are like, that's fucking crazy, just know that, like, dude, our our reality is so much more than we have believed it to be. And humans are so resistant to being in the space of not knowing and accepting that there's things that are way fucking more powerful than we are, and, like, our own human potential. Dude, some of the, like, some of the civilizations in the past were far more advanced than we are.
Whoever
Like,
built the pyramids is far more advanced than we
yeah,
are.
what the fuck? We still don't know how to do that. And yeah, I mean, we are, yeah. I know this is probably challenging some of your thinking, but yeah.
No, I think that was a good one. That was a good
Yeah.
episode. Guys, I think we have a very important episode and special one coming up next that I think me and Blake both know is would be a good one to really follow this one, and then coincidentally also follow what we talked about on the last one. So I think we got a good stretch of them coming up that are just going to build on top of each other, and kind of setting the foundation for first. We went with self what was it
Self-discovery or exploration.
self exploration, right, which kind of just laid the framework of for like why people need to do it. Then I guess this religion episode's kind of get into like why would you want to do it and what the purpose of that is, and by finding yourself, who are you really connecting with. And then the next one is,
Yeah.
we'll get into that.
And on both of these, we skim over so many topics.
Oh
We
yeah.
could make like we could do 3 episodes each on both of these. So
Yeah.
maybe we'll unpack some of the concepts. And I do want to say that my YouTube channel has launched as of today. It is, so
Oh,
we'll add that to the show notes.
there
And
we go.
gonna be
Shout it out. What is it?
it's the Third Door channel. That's not it's the Third Door 11 on YouTube. I'll add it to the show notes. It'll be on my social media too, and we'll be doing similar things as we do on this show and having Owen on that show.
Bro,
So
get me on there. Let's go.
so definitely tune in there. And yeah, dude,
For
we
sure.
didn't even talk about like reincarnation or any of that
Oh,
stuff.
trust me, dude. We're going into it, but I think that's good. We're at 121, so everybody,
Send
thank
in
you for
questions.
watching. Yes, good
What do you guys
idea.
want to know about? And I would love to hear what you guys are curious about.
Yeah. So, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Blake, I'll let you sign us off. Thank you.
Thank you. You guys be well.